This is Dr. Emmett L. Brown, and this is my time machine.
A time machine?
You're a slacker, McFly!
I gotta get back in time. 1955.
Hey, McFly! I thought I told you never to come in here.
And if they don't meet, they won't fall in love. They won't get married, and neither you nor siblings will ever be born.
Whoa, this is heavy. You don't need money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden, but it's cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. That's the power of love.
It's July. So you're probably asking, why the hell is there a new Marchy McFly? Well, I'll tell you why there's a new Marchy McFly, but first, I have to say welcome back to Geek Mentality and welcome back to a very special episode of Marchy McFly. McFly in July, Marchy McBonus. Folks, I never in all my days have done anything like this with Marchy McFly. Marchy always starts on March 1st and ends on March 31st, and that is how it's been written in my contract. That's how I've done it every year for the past 5 years. But sometimes something so special happens that you have to hit record and do an episode. And yes, that probably should have been on July 3rd when it was the official 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. But I thought the first Marchy McBonus episode should really be for something extra special, something out of the ordinary, because I've celebrated these movies multiple times over. I've celebrated Back to the Future for 2 full Marchy McFlys, of course, the 2 sequels and the cartoon, and of course, we're coming back in 2026. But sometimes there's something that defies the month-long podcast mold. It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. It's not a comic book. It's not a novel. But it is Back to the Future. And ladies and gentlemen, that day is today. And that special moment is Back to the Future, the musical. Yes, today, July 13th, 2025, I went to see the Back to the Future musical. And I'm here podcasting about that musical to you, the people of Earth. It all happened, I think, last fall when I knew Back to the Future was coming to Boston, but my wife and I got tickets to take her mom for her 80th birthday to see Mamma Mia. Here we go again. And it was at the Citizens Opera House in Boston, Mass. And while they have videos playing of shows that are coming. So I tapped my wife on the shoulder and I said, "Wife." She's like, "Don't touch me." I know. I said, "Wife, look up there. We're going to this." And it was the Back to the Future musical coming in July 2025. And I had it bookmarked, and I just kept putting it off, kept waiting. And I think it was only like maybe 3 weeks ago or something like that, I get a call from my brother. And he says, "Yo, bro." That's how he talks. He's like, "Yo, bro." Okay, he doesn't talk like that at all. He said, "Hey, we're going to see the Back to the Future musical. Do you want to come along with us? You know, we'll pay for half your ticket for your birthday gift." I think they got good tickets, good seats. And I was like, "Ooh, I really do, but Mrs. Geek Mentality wants to go too." And they only had one extra ticket. It's not like they were buying the tickets, I should say. They had the tickets already, but Mrs. Geek Mentality's sister, who's married to Mr. Geek Mentality's brother, it's a family thing. She wasn't able to go, so that ticket was offered to me. But of course, Mrs. Geek Mentality wanted to go, so we said thank you, but I'm going to pass on that. Then I went home and immediately ordered tickets for today. Mind you, the tickets I ordered for today totaled what was about the half, I think, of the tickets that that my brother got. So he's going to see he's going to have an amazing experience. His daughter's going to have an amazing experience at that level. But for me, we were pretty much towards the back, but it really didn't matter. Yes, obviously getting up closer would have been better and would have been cooler to see. But this theater it's not small, but it is small enough that even being in the back, and I think there was like a row that was, handicap accessible, with a couple seats behind us. We were really kind of the last row. And it really didn't matter except who the we were. Because if you are a subscriber to this podcast, you know that on Friday I went to see Superman with Mrs. Geek Mentality. And I told you she brightened up my whole day. My whole day was happy already. Like, it was just a blast. I loved the movie. It was just the experience I was looking for. And then she looked at me and said, "That was better than I thought it was going to be." And I was like, I was like, "Let's renew our vows right now. I love you." I could have floated out of the theater. I think I did. But I think sitting in that chair, which, by the way, they're very comfortable chairs. I think sitting for that long kind of irked her back a little bit. I've talked about it before. She's had back surgery. She has a back stimulator now, like installed in her with Bluetooth technology. And she's still recovering. Like what that thing does, it's like a nerve stimulator. It's a miracle what it's doing for her. But from the surgery and the incisions and they got to put the wires on and all that crazy shit, she's still recovering from that. So those, she wasn't feeling great. She stiffened up or something from that on Friday. And then yesterday we went to a graduation party and she was sitting for a long time for that. And she's like, "I don't know if I can do this tomorrow. I am not sure if I can do this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, let's play it by ear. And I was just like, I thought if I could ignore it, it would go away and she would just go. That's probably not the most mature way of looking at it, but that is kind of in the back of my mind what I was thinking. And then we went after to, our friend was watching our dog. We went to go pick up the dog. We went to grab some groceries. And I was like, are you going to go tomorrow? She's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go." I said, "Okay, cool. And I dropped it. I did not think about it because I did not want to even bring up the thought that she wouldn't go. And then last night, we were reading in bed. Okay. I was pretending to read, but actually watching wrestling. And she's like, "I don't know." After she was lying down, she's like, "I don't know about this," because she has to be good enough to go to work tomorrow. She's helping out. She's doing summer school for the summer. And, she's like, "I don't know if I could do this." And I said, "You know what? Okay. It's okay." She's like, "Why don't you ask my mom if she wants to go?" there isn't anything wrong with the podcast. That was just my reaction. I was like, yeah, I could. I go, what about my friend Eric? Friend of the show, Marchy McFly veteran, geek mentality all-star. What about him? What about asking Eric? And she's like, yeah, you could. Or what about, like, did you mention it to your dad? I go, well, how about this? How about I go and ask the old man and give him first dibs. And this is in the goddamn balcony. And the dude's still kind of recovering from he's got two, fake knees, a couple fake shoulders. I think, yeah, two fake shoulders. I mean, he's no more than two. He's like, do you remember when Murphy first came out as RoboCop? He's like still trying to get used to things. It's kind of like that. And I was like, okay, we could, you know what? He could do it. We went to a casino a couple of weeks ago. He did all right there. Let me offer it to him. He goes, you know what? Why don't you see if there's someone else who would enjoy it more? I don't care. I'm not that big of a, and I didn't even wait for him to finish. I said, okay, Vroom, ran off, texted Eric. Eric, would you like to go see Back to the Future? And he immediately said, yes, but I'm paying for my ticket. I said, no, you're not. I already had the tickets paid for, already had the parking paid for. I said, buddy, you are doing me a solid by coming with me. It'll be great. We'll have fun. And I said, there's only one thing that I'm going to ask of you. And that is you need to record with me a Marchy McBonus episode in the car on the way there and on the way back. He said, no, thanks. Then I had to call. I called his agent. It basically was some negotiation. We ironed out the details, and he begrudgingly agreed. And I picked him up at about 11 a.m. I immediately put a lav mic on him. Now this part's true. I gave him a little microphone to put. I handed it to him. He immediately dropped it, and it went under my car seat. And because it had a magnet, it immediately magnetized, stuck to the bottom of the car seat, like the little metal part. So I'm under there looking like crazy. Finally, I find it, hand it back to him. He plugs it in. He clips it on. We hit record, and we start talking. And we got none of it. And then on the way home, we did a full episode and we got none of it. And it's because I did this all through my phone. Part of me thought, bring my GoPro, hook it up, and we'll do video and I'll just turn it into audio. Should have done that. Another, bring my pocket Tascam recorder. Should have done that. But what I did was bring my phone, and even though I clipped my mic into it, even though on the way home we just talked into the phone, I believe the Bluetooth took over and caused none of the recording, none of the audio to be recorded. Folks, it was the most magical conversation that you could, imagine the best podcast you could possibly think of about Back to the Future, the musical. Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it was even better. And we got none of it. All we got was inside the opera house once we sat down and were ready to watch the show. Okay, so now we are in the opera house. I'm here with Eric. Say hello, Eric.
Hello.
And we are not in the last row because there's kind of a row behind us, but we're almost in the last row. But here's the thing. We can see the stage perfectly. It says Back to the Future, the musical. Yes, there it is. I keep thinking something's messing up, but I think that's part of the thing. It's like a digital screen, and it's getting pixelated, but I believe that's part of the show. We're in the balcony, and we can almost see this. And my very, very generous friend Eric got me a Back to the Future, the musical sweatshirt. So I'll share a picture of that. So yeah, it's perfect. I'm gonna all fall and spring and winter when I wear these constantly, I will be thinking of Eric as I slide my arms into the wrist and slowly pull the zipper up over my bosom. I will think of my buddy Eric. Thank you, Eric. So it is about 20 minutes before the show, and we're excited. And a lot of people in Back to the Future shirts. and one sweatshirt. That's me, baby. They have like the concession stand. Everyone's dressed in life preservers. The dork thinks they're going to drown, and yeah, that's it. I'm just really excited. The show's about to start in about 20 minutes. Yay! Yay! So I'm batting 1,000 here because when I didn't record what I wanted to record, I accidentally recorded, listen to this. I accidentally recorded the entire first half of the musical in my pocket. My phone went in my pocket, and it's not even worth playing. I mean, it is garbaggio, but I pulled it out and I was like, wait, it's still running for an hour and 20 minutes. So the recording of the entire first act through a phone in the second to last row of the music hall while the phone is in my pocket, that I could pull off. Could I pull off, actually recording what I meant to record for the podcast? Obviously no, because otherwise you wouldn't be hearing me talking right now. So now I want to talk about the actual musical. It was awesome. It was awesome. I loved every moment of it. I am going to spoil things, so if you are interested in the story and the changes that were made for the musical, you can stop listening now. If that doesn't bother you, then I didn't take any notes, so it's all going on memory. But there were specific things that they just changed, tweaked, removed, reordered, and it was all kind of just in service of the play, in service of the musical. It can't do, well, it didn't. Well, I shouldn't say it can't, because I was like, oh, they changed this, and I guess I was expecting it almost to be a full. Here's the story of a lovely lady who was trying to, make out with her future son, but they didn't do that. They did 90% of the Back to the Future story with little tweaks around it to make it into the musical. Now, this is the North American touring cast, and I guess it's been different people even in the touring cast, but I just want to give the actors' names for the main players of the musical. We have Lucas Haller. He played Marty McFly. We have David Josephberg, who played Doc Brown. We have Mike Bindeman. He played George McFly. We have, interesting, Dave McFly and Linda McFly also played different characters. I didn't even pick up on that. I should say the guy who played Dave McFly was Fisher Lane Stewart. Linda McFly was Katie LaDuca. Jennifer Parker was Sophia Yakap. Biff Tannen, who the guy really sounded and felt and just looked like Biff to me. Nathaniel Hackman. And Lorraine Baines, now this is an interesting one, is an actress named Zan Barubi, who is from my hometown. And she, I think my mother was her dad's teacher. And I know her cousins. People are posting a lot on Facebook about it. And so it's like a hometown girl, hits it big on Broadway, on the Broadway stage of Boston. And she gets to kind of tour all over the place. So those are the big names. I think Lucas Anthony Neville played Strickland. And then it looks like Cartrez Tucker played Goldie Wilson and Marvin Berry. So they had a few people play two different characters, like the two McFly kids and Goldie and Marvin. And Lucas Anthony Neville didn't just play Mayor Red Thomas. Progress is his middle name too. He also played Sam Baines. So it's not a huge cast. There's the ensemble. There's the Clock Tower Woman, a little different there. A lot of little different things. So the clock tower woman, it's not save the clock tower, it's save and restore the clock tower. Save and restore the clock tower. I don't know why they made that change. There were little things like and I'm spoiling it now, in 1985, Goldie Wilson was running for mayor before Marty left, and when he comes back, he finds out he is mayor. There's no, again, spoilers ahead. There's no Libyan terrorist subplot. There's no, built a bomb out of shoddy pinball parts. There was nothing with the Libyans, nothing. That was completely cut out. There was no Einstein. I think Eric said that they mentioned a dog, but I don't remember that. There was, it might have been an off-screen thing or a bark or something, but I did not pick up on that. And it just, things were like, and what was added in? The peanut brittle that was a cut scene from Back to the Future, where it wasn't Biff who sold the peanut brittle. It was another guy who sold the peanut brittle. In Back to the Future, in the actual movie, we see at dinner boxes of peanut brittle everywhere. And that's because in a deleted scene, it shows that George is a bit of a pushover buying all this peanut brittle for a fundraiser. In the play, they have Biff doing that, and that's why he's there. I guess instead of, they didn't wreck the car, there's no talk of the 4x4. A lot of things are just simplified. So he's there for the peanut brittle. I guess maybe to not have the drunk driving thing. I don't know. There are things that I thought, maybe they'll cut that, and they didn't. Like they have Mr. Crothers say, a colored mayor, that'll be the day. Like I wasn't sure if they'd have that. They did have Biff getting frisky with Lorraine. I wasn't sure how much they do there. In the beginning, what did we get? We got it started with Marty going into Doc's workshop, exactly the same. He gets a message from Doc saying, please meet me tonight at the Twin Pine Malls. Right there. It's like, cuts out the dinner, cuts out like all these things, gets right to that. And he does play the amp, and the amp explodes. He doesn't go flying, but the amp explodes on stage. He is going to have an audition for this, not for the Battle of the Bands, but for like this big Hill Valley celebration. And he gets shut down by Strickland for that. So that he's upset about that. And then when he gets to the mall that night, it's cool. The Twin Pine Mall sign is right on stage. And instead of like a slow entrance and Doc gets out, he's like, Marty, this is the big one, the one I've been waiting for. And then he gets Einstein. It starts with Marty sitting there, and then out of the blue, boom, the DeLorean shows up on stage. I mean, it is loud, it is shocking, it's like explosive, and it almost looks like it skids in. Like they have this thing on this spinning panel that really worked really well. And it looks like just it was like re-entry, because then Doc jumped out, he's like, Marty! And the place goes nuts. And he's like, I just became the world's first time traveler. So it's like, how do you do it where you can just tighten things up a bit? The one thing we missed, the one thing I would have liked is 188 miles per hour. We didn't get that. I thought maybe they'd add that in at the end when Marty went back and Doc was left alone at 55. But we didn't get that. Again, I said, there was no Einstein. So Doc is talking about the plutonium, and he says, you got plutonium? I don't remember him saying if he ripped it off. I don't even remember that. I think it was, you got plutonium. Isn't that dangerous? He's like, don't worry, I have this suit. And you see the suit is ripped on the butt. And then all of a sudden, his hands are glowing. After he puts the plutonium in, his hands are glowing, and he passes out, and he's going to die of radiation poisoning. So Marty's like, I'll go get you help. He jumps into the car, and Doc's like, don't go, 88. But Marty goes too fast, ends up in the barn. He leaves the car in the barn. There's no, the farmer doesn't show up. She's already mutated into alien human form. Shoot it. None of that. It's just, I need to figure out, how to find Dr. Emmett L. Brown. So he goes to the cafe, and he's trying to, that's we do have the interaction with him and George and Biff, and Goldie's there, and Lou is like, why don't you look in the newspaper? I'm not the phone book. I'm not going to tell you where that is. I don't know where that is. He then follows George, who is up in a tree, and I thought, oh, they're having him hang out there in a tree because that's where he likes. Like he just likes to be up there, and read and be alone. No, he was still a peeping Tom. So he's like, he's a peeping Tom. But instead of falling in the street and getting hit by a car, because I remember they go, that's just the way I met your father. And Linda's like, that's because he fell out of a tree in your front yard. And that's what happened. He fell out of the tree. Marty was there to break the fall and save him. George runs off, and Sam was like, Stella, another one of those crazy kids fell out of the tree again. So we got the whole, 1955. There were certain things they did. I was like, how do they do that? And I realized the guy lying down wasn't actually the actor. They pull away, and all of a sudden you think it's Marty McFly, the same kid. And all of a sudden you look and Marty McFly is in the bed. Like, they was such a quick change. I was like, whoa, they did it once with Doc too, where Doc had his dream sequence. And it seemed like at the end, Doc was at one place dancing, and then all of a sudden he woke up and he was in his chair. And I was like, whoa, there was a little switcheroo, and I missed it. So Jennifer, all that stuff, it's written all over your underwear. Calvin Klein, that was the same. See, Jennifer was even more horny than she is in the movies. She leaps on him, and this was the girl from my hometown, the girl from Massachusetts, who just sang the national anthem at Fenway Park the other day. The hometown star coming home. She plays Lorraine, and she's like trying to jump on him. And Lorraine, what are you doing up there? There's no sitting around the dinner table. There's no meeting the other kids. There's no like rerun or jailhouse, jailbird Joey. He says, hey, do you know where Emmett L. Brown lives? He doesn't ask for the address. And he's like, oh, that he lives over on Riverside Drive. And like, oh, he's like, where's that? He goes, that's 2 blocks past Maple. And under my breath, I go, it's a block past Maple. And he goes, block past Maple, that's John F. Kennedy. And we go, who the hell is John F. Kennedy? So we got some of that. And do I know your mother? But this was all in Lorraine's bedroom. And he's like, I got to go. We still got he's a very interesting boy. And he's an idiot. So that stuff was all great to see that again. Marty goes to see Doc, and he gets the, he tries to read his mind. So that was fun. Very similar. I'm from the future in a time machine you built. And, it means this thing doesn't work. All these things. He kicks him out right there out of the workshop. But he yells, hey, I know how you got that bruise on your head. You slipped, and you got the flux capacitor. Brings him to the barn. He's like, oh, my goodness, it worked. So all that's pretty much the same. Then we got, we got to get you back to the future. Don't talk to anybody. He's like, oops, I accidentally met with my parents. The photograph's a little different. They use a projector to blow it up, and they're looking at it like on a projector so that we see them fading away. Instead of erasing, they're fading slowly away. And then he's like, you need to go get your parents. We need to, meet them. And, we got how did it happen? Oh, I think right there in the barn, he tells them about the 1.21 gigawatts. And we're like, we need to figure out the bolt of lightning. So there were certain things. We do see Doc watching the video of him dying, but it's different. And he's like falls over. And he's like, I need to tell you something about the future. All that stuff is pretty much the same. But Lorraine in the movie follows Marty home after the big chase. After the coffee shop and the chase, he follows Marty home. She follows Marty home. And that's after we get the model and the plan, the city for the downtown square model. I didn't have time to paint it or to build it to scale. That was done differently, where Lorraine showed up earlier, and she's like, I knew you were looking for Dr. Emmett L. Brown, so I thought I'd come here and find you. And that's when she's like, I thought maybe you could ask me out to the dance. He tried to get Lorraine, tried to get George to do it, at the high school. There was no Darth Vader going to melt your brain. None of that happened. Instead, he says, yeah, I'll take you to the dance. And she goes, he's like, I'll pick you up at 7. She goes, pick me up at 7 and bring me to heaven. And she leans into him. So she, again, horned up. You know, there's the whole thing of get your damn hands off her when they're sitting around, when they're hanging laundry together. That was the same. Instead of the big chase scene, there is a scene where it's like something about that boy, which was probably my favorite, one of my favorite numbers. It was like, because there was like, I don't know what the term is for it, but it's like an alternating song where Lorraine is singing something about that boy, how much she's, into him and finds him exciting and interesting. And at the same time, Biff is singing something about that guy, something about that boy, something about that punk. I know he's going to get him, and he's got his gang. And there's a chase going all around the whole high school that's going on. So I thought that was fun, very catchy. And it was, I don't want to play music from the musical. I want you people, I did not listen to anything before this. I think I saw something at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade one year, but I did not go in listening to anything because I wanted everything to be fresh and told to me. And that was the one that connected with me the most. At one point, it might have been right after the intermission, we got this whole new thing with Doc in the future. And it was this whole thing about in the future, all these different things we'll see in the future. And he said, that was the dream. He talked about that was the dream sequence where, again, at one point Doc's looking away from you, and then you realize the actual Doc is sitting in this chair over here. So I thought that was rather cool. That was an interesting one too. I liked that one, but it was like, again, it was not even part of the Back to the Future story. It was just an extra element that was added in. So most of the story takes place the way you think it is. They go to the dance. Instead of like being locked in the car, they beat him up right there. They throw him in a dumpster, chain him in a dumpster. The Starlighters, Marvin and Marvin Berry, do get him out of the dumpster, but I think that's where Marvin hurts his hand. George knocks out Biff. I mean, the place went nuts when George knocked out Biff, so that was great. There was no car they were in. There was like the illusion of a car. They had like a light flashing, so you got a cool silhouette up on the back of the wall. The whole thing with them kissing your brother, that was all still there. All those major things were there. They then did the Earth Angel, which then turned into Johnny Be Good. Of course, you got to have those things. We got the, excuse me, and George knocks over, the guy who was Malachi in the original movie, well, in Children of the Corn. And he kisses her and, all that stuff. And when he kisses her, the music swells, like the Earth Angel swells, and the place goes nuts for that too. So I thought that was really well done. And then they leave. There's no other that Biff gets punched out and that's it. There's no manure truck, nothing like that. I think he gets spaghetti on his head or something, because he gets knocked into a dumpster, I believe, or in garbage. I'm not sure exactly. And then the final scene, very similar. Marty writes a letter to Doc. It's in the diner with Doc, what's going to happen to him that night. And Doc rips up the letter. Very similar. There were things with Goldie Wilson. Was it Goldie or Marv? Somebody helped him set up the weather equipment, and I think it was Goldie. And then they set out, and Marty rode the DeLorean. The way they did it was they had this screen in the back, and they also had a screen in front that they put down that was like translucent, and the DeLorean lit up and the screen moved, so it felt like you were watching the DeLorean, like it was standing still while the background was moving, or it would turn in certain angles. And it was so well choreographed and timed with the video board that it was just really cool to see. And they did that with the clock tower too. Like Doc is on the back of the screen. He's there. I asked Eric, like, he's there, right? He's like, oh no, yeah, he was there. While the part of the clock tower was video. Other parts were practical with him on it. Like, that was really cool. Like, we see Marty go, driving all these different angles, and then the car turns, and we see it driving straight, and boom, flashes of light, everything goes dark. Doc's like, yay! I don't even think he said 88 miles per hour, but he's like, well, okay, see you in 30 years, Marty. We get the helicopter lights flying over. That was cool. To crazy drunk driver, but the car doesn't start. This time, Doc runs over to Marty. He's like, what are you doing here? He goes, well, I knew you'd be here. I knew the exact time you'd come. He goes, you're alive. He said, yeah, about that. And he opened his shirt and he had a new radiation suit. And he goes, I thought, what about the ramifications of the future and the time-space continuum? And he said, I thought, what the hell? So I thought that was pretty cool. It went, so because we didn't want to leave, Marty's like, Doc says, I got to go. He goes right off into the future at that moment. Marty's so tired, he lies down on a bench, the opposite bench of Red the Bum. And he wakes up with his brother like, come on, man, it's time. He's like, what are you talking about? It's time for the big celebration to honor George McFly. So at the beginning of the movie, at the beginning of the play, they said, like, I think it was this Hill Valley town celebration. Now it's celebrating George McFly. What I also didn't tell you was Jennifer talked about her very famous cousin who's a big famous record producer named Huey, which of course is a little on the nose for Huey Lewis. I wonder if did Huey ever play Huey in the play? I feel like that might have happened. But the next day, because it's only the next day for everyone else, they're like, come on, man, you're going to play the celebration. You and the Pinheads. I guess in this version they got it. There's no truck, but he did say, Jennifer, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? His mother shows up there. We see Linda with a boyfriend. We see Dave with a cool suit, because at one point he's dancing around talking about, do you want fries with that? Because he works at Burger King. And have it your way. Oh, there was a have it your way joke. Was it there? Oh no, there was a joke of Doc not wanting to buy stock in McDonald's, or an ownership or something. So now Dave has a cool job and he still dances. He has like longer hair, which you don't expect for Dave McFly, but he dances really cool. And Lorraine is running the whole thing, and he's like, Ma, you look great. She's like, thank you, Marty. Here's the man of the hour, George McFly. And he looks like the George at the end of the movie with the sunglasses and the hair and just a little better suit. And he comes out and he's all, hey, thank you, everybody. I couldn't have done this without without my family, the love of my life. And then Biff shows up. I think he was pulled in by Strickland or something. He's like, but he had his green tracksuit on. He's like, Mr. McFly, I have your project here. And he opens up and it's the new book. And it's not a romance made in space? I can't even remember what it is, the name of the book. But he goes, my new book, Back to the Future 4, The Further Adventures of Calvin Klein. So that was a cute little nod to the movies. And then they're like, come on, Marty, you and the Pinheads are going to play the big event. And then they play Power of Love. And it's all, yay, everyone's happy. And then in the middle of it, Doc shows up. Marty, you got to come back with me. Back to the future. I don't think he says anything about your kids. And it doesn't say take Jennifer along. She's got to come too. They solve that. They're like, no, Jennifer's not getting in the car. And then there's all these people who's like, stand back, everyone. Doc, we need more roads. And he says, roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. And then the DeLorean lights up and the stage is just dark enough that you have no idea that you can't see anything except the car. And then all of a sudden the car rises up into the air. And it's friggin', like, I remember hearing about that and I just, like, it was so awesome. And then they wave to the crowd and they turn away from you, because that's how the movie ends. And explosion, boom, the car disappears and it says the end, just like in the end of the movie, at the end of Back to the Future Part 3. What I do like is at intermission it said to be continued on the screen, so I loved that as well. And then the cast comes out, does a big bow, everyone's happy, and then they come back and sing Back in Time, and that was it. I'm sure I missed some things. I'm sure I got some things wrong. But it was such a great adaptation to Back to the Future to make it work as a musical with all kinds of songs. Everyone got a chance to shine. Lorraine, George, Biff, Doc, and of course Marty. Even Goldie. And then that day he finds out I'm the mayor, and he's like, "You won." And I said, "You better clean up that town. You better clean up Hill Valley." Hopefully, the Hill Valley in the musical. And it makes me like Goldie more because in the movie he's already mayor. He wants a re-election, but he's got boarded up porn shops all over the downtown. Here, he's just becoming mayor. I don't see anything, ravaged in the downtown Hill Valley area. So, to me, clean slate. Mayor Goldie Wilson in the play. Unless he had been mayor for a while and I missed it, but I'm pretty sure he just was elected. And that was it. Then we got in the car and we drove home and had all these thoughts. And the funniest thing that I got out of this was that Eric did not know it was a musical until he got there and saw the poster that said Back to the Future, the musical. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? That was so funny to me. He, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, he insisted on paying, and I said, no. Nope, it's already paid for. So he goes, let me get you something. I'm going to get you something. I'm getting you a sweatshirt. And I was like, you don't have to. But the sweatshirt was really cool. It was a hoodie, and he got me the Back to the Future hoodie. So I'm putting that in the show notes. I'm putting in the show notes a picture of me standing outside the theater, pointing at the signs, a picture of me standing right outside the poster. So if you look at me in the marquee of, like, the marquee's way off in the back, and I'm pointing to it in that photo. If you see in that photo, way in the back, you see a poster, and you see a family, like a mom and two young kids in front of the poster. And I walk up, and I'm like, are they going to move? I'm just a big 48-year-old man. I shouldn't. Excuse me, could I get in there real quick for a photo? And they were very polite about it. I go, sorry, I'm just a big nerd. And I took a selfie of myself right there with the poster because it's Back to the Future, the musical, and I wasn't going to miss that. Inside the concession stands, I think if I didn't mention it, everyone was dressed up in Back to the Future, like as Marty with the vest. The dork thinks he's going to drown. And there was a lot of great little things you could get, but I got this really awesome sweatshirt, and I thank you, Eric, for that. Thank you, Eric, so much for joining me. I wish we could have got more of our episode. If we did, this episode would have been about 15 minutes, but without that, I just keep on rambling, and we're closing in on 44 minutes by the time I finish, or maybe 43 and a half minutes by the time I finish this sentence. 43 and a half minutes. So I think I'm done. I think I nailed it. And now I'm pretty sure Geek Mentality is going to be quiet for a few weeks, but it will be back on August 1st. And Eric will be back talking Joggist with me. He made that promise, and I actually made him sign a few papers. Again, his agent, you deal with him. I mean, it's just part of the game. You got to deal with it, and it all works out. So I'm pretty sure that he will be able to join me for Golden Joggist coming August 1st, 2025. But again, I still have to get through July. Like this week and a half these next couple of weeks are great. I had Superman on Friday. I have the Back to the Future musical today. A week from tomorrow, Monday. Next Friday we're going to Maine. My wife and I are going to Maine for the weekend. We come home that Monday. I'm going to see Ghost, a band that I love, and I have that whole week off. We're doing things with friends. We're doing things with family. So I am fully pumped. 4 days of work, and then off for a nice week vacation, almost a week and a day. So I can't wait. That being said, Geek Mentality will return August 1st. Until then, I had an idea for something that I might do in October. In October. I'm not sure if it's going to be this October. It's just a thought. I just wrote it down today. I came up with a quick idea. I've always wanted to do something in October. That's all I'll say. But I will be back August 1st. Until then, you can find me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, mostly Blue Sky. I'm trying to do Threads a little more, to be honest with you. I feel like Blue Sky is where I go for friendly people, and Threads is kind of where you can go for more celebrity entertainers. I feel like they're flocking there away from Twitter. And I still have a Twitter account. I didn't close it. You're just really not seeing anything from me there. Instagram still do that. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel is Fans Not Experts. I do a lot of TikTok at Geek Mentality Mike. And of course, every episode of every podcast I work on can be found at fansnotexperts.com. That's it. I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the sweatshirt, Eric. Thank you for coming with me today. And until next time, here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.